So I saw this story the other day and thought, we have talked about this a couple of times on the show, the fact that sports gambling obviously now very much present in our lives.
Everywhere.
It's not even the sports gambling, and yes, that's around. It's the ads for sports gambling. And now I find out, and this is interesting, MARTY DEACON, who is a Canadian senator, has, I guess, decided it's high time to introduce federal legislation designed to crack down on sports gambling advertising. She's now introduced a public bill to help establish new guidelines and regulations before, as she describes it, problem gambling ruins lives. MARTY DEACON is on the line. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. How are you today?
We're doing pretty well. I'm curious.
Good.
It's impossible, it would seem, to get away from gambling, no matter where you watch. If you're watching a live sports event, it's everywhere. My first question is, what compelled you to introduce this bill?
Yes, and you're touching on it, and that is that we've had this single sport betting bill implemented in 2021. It's 2 years later, and while one could have anticipated some advertising, nobody, I think, would have guessed just how significant the problem has become and how prevalent. And I think, and you're in Montreal, but we have had an NHL playoffs recently that really was a strong, not only, but a strong reminder that the promotion of sports is getting out of hand in this country. And adult Canadians are getting very tired of the advertising we're seeing. And young people are very, very drawn and attracted to heroes and stars and role models. And the conversations with them are really candid and very open, that what started off as some fantasy, they can't seem to let go of. So very, very concerned about from a health perspective, and that it is minimizing the joy of sport.
I also worry, as the mom of an 11-year-old girl who finds these ads incredibly intriguing. Like, as you said, that she immediately, her eyes open wide and she's trying to figure out what's going on. I wonder about the long-term implications of that, if it's getting kids interested in this at a younger age. Do you share the same concern, Senator?
Of course, and your concern is legitimate, and it's a very true observation. And I say that to you because we are a little bit, and we can learn from others, but not wait. We are a little behind the UK and Italy and some other countries that have gone through this. And, the information and the feedback and the long-term mental health effects, the addiction effects, the financial effects, the social effects are there, and they're very, very strong. I think there was also in Canada, so trying to keep it in Canada, only a year ago, Stats Can reported that 2/3 of Canadians aged 15 or older gambled in the past year. And that represents perhaps 1.6% of the population, but it's still 300,000 Canadian children. And that's before everything went really bombarding us over the last year and a half. So quite concerned about that.
I'm kind of curious when we finally, or when the government finally allowed, sports betting to go on. Mm-hmm. We were catching up to the U.S., I guess, at the time, where it's been around for a few years. You would have thought that at the outset, contingent upon being able to go ahead and do this, there might have been some limits placed on advertising. That didn't happen. Do you know why?
Yeah, it's a very good, I can say that too, and I can actually take some responsibility and accountability for it. When we looked at Bill C-218 in the summer of 2021, we passed that, and that was essentially a change to the criminal code to legalize single sport betting. And we did that with in mind that the gazillion billion-dollar market, underground, all kinds of unregulated things were happening, and we wanted to legalize it so Canadians could bet with Canadian companies following Canadian laws. And the emphasis on that became that aspect of the bill. And I don't think anyone, they can tell you now, anyone anticipated that their advertising would be to the degree that it was, and that we would have one of our Canadian sports icon, on camera within 3 hours of the bill being passed. I don't think anyone anticipated that and the rate of it.
Yeah, they were ready. I was thinking about this, they were ready to go and to bombard us. And that's why it became so ubiquitous so quickly. And yet I feel like the industry, the standards, they weren't ready to impose those standards. We now have those standards, right? On pretty much, here in Quebec specifically, you cannot have any advertising that targets children. Of course, we know about cigarettes and alcohol. It's all very controlled. Is it just a question of catching up?
Yeah, and also this advertising, of course, Quebec is exposed to. Quebec kids are exposed to. Like there are some rules absolutely in the province. What we're trying to do is ask the government to develop a set of regulations with respect to the advertising that can be used from coast to coast to coast. Ontario has something they're thinking about. Alberta's just started the conversation, but we want it to be so that no matter where you are in the country, we have a common standard and a set of regulations. And so I'm in just a clarification. I'm a senator. And so this is an S bill, S6269, and I've just introduced it. And now it goes through a process in the Senate where it goes to second reading, and then we'll bring a committee of witnesses in that are experts in all aspects of this for children, from an advertising perspective, from a business perspective, from a broadcasting perspective. And then a committee will determine if this bill is on the mark or it needs to be changed or modified. Then it will go back to the House.
No, this is taking way too
this
long.
Is going to take forever to get done. Sure.
It's not
How
a
do we
3-week
speed it up?
operation. It's not going to be over in 3 weeks. I really want people to understand that. But having said that, any day, if the government decided, listen, we got this, we're taking it away from the Senate bill, we're going to do something on a federal level, we're taking it away. There's no ego in this game. We are welcome. We welcome that to happen. The reality is something has to be done.
I wonder, I hate to kind of make it seem this way, but first of all, I imagine there's a fairly powerful lobby group for the companies involved in this, number one. I'm sure they're very busy now trying to have this thing watered down when it comes up to a vote. And number two, maybe not a fair question to ask, but is it too late to get the genie back in the bottle on this?
It's interesting that you say that because I think that the UK is a good example. They took it out of the bottle. They took the genie out of the bottle and learned some lessons. They're ahead of us by a number of years, and then they pulled the regulations in and had great success.
Okay, well, that's heartening, I guess.
Right, and so we have to absolutely be heartened by it, but also look at it. And so regulations can really vary. The Canadian Mental Health Association is asking for the 5 minute rule, and that's where there's no advertising 5 minutes before a game starts until 5 minutes after a game starts. Some is the banning of celebrity. Some is the time of day. There are a number of things that we can look at. What we couldn't do, which there's a variety of opinions on, we couldn't call for a 100% ban. It took me a long time to work through the rules and the Constitution and the Charter and freedom. And this doesn't quite, at this moment, reach the same bar as what we call tobacco. But it sure does for our learnings in alcohol and cannabis. And that's why we need to rein this in and rein it in quickly.
Well,
Good on
we
you.
wish you luck. Absolutely. I think a lot of people would agree with that stance. Senator Deacon, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate it.
You folks are welcome. All the best.